On the day the peaceful Marquis's household sent betrothal gifts to the Duke of the nation's residence, the young Marquis Shenhuai instead brought a jade pendant to break off the engagement. He had fallen in love with my concubine-born younger sister, Wn Niang. He and Wn Niang knelt before both sets of parents, saying that Wn Niang already carried his child and that he would marry no one but her in this lifetime. The peaceful Marquis beat him half to death. Father locked Wn Niang in the ancestral hall. He said, "You are the legitimate daughter of the Duke's manor. Even if your engagement is broken, you'll still have a bright future. But Wn Niang is different. She's a concubine-born daughter. If I don't take her, she'll have no way to live. There are so many concubine-born daughters in the capital. Are you going to marry them all?" I tore up the marriage contract and threw it into the snow. "I'll make it easy for you too." Later, Shenhuai regretted it and knelt in the courtyard begging me for forgiveness. I put on the county princess's attire, clean up the courtyard, don't block my way to the palace to receive my fief and rewards. The 8th day of the first lunar month, a very auspicious day, the Ping'an Marquis and his wife came to the Duke's residence to propose. The ceremonial baskets covered in red silk piled up the Duke's courtyard, and my father and mother were extremely pleased. I was neatly dressed, and the nanny smiled and said, "The young miss has grown up, graceful and poised, and so pretty. The young Marquis really has picked a treasure." I smiled shyly. I was just about to go to the front yard when my maid, Paya, ran in panting. "Miss, this is bad. The young Marquis is kneeling in the front yard, saying he wants to break off the engagement." On the 8th day, the snow was coming down heavily. By the time I reached the front yard, the ground was already blanketed in a thick layer. Shenhuai was kneeling in the middle of the courtyard. Looking completely out of place amidst the piles of betrothal gifts, he held up the jade pendant and said loudly, "Please forgive the Duke and Madam, but Huai cannot marry Chia. Huai already has someone in his heart. He will not marry anyone else." I asked the Duke to consent to cancelling the engagement. Father and mother sat in the main courtyard with ashen faces. The Marquis of Ping'an, furious, smashed a teacup. "You ungrateful son, what day is today? And you say you want to call off the engagement? You have someone in your heart. You and Chia were betrothed since childhood, and today you say you have another. Have you gone mad?" Madam, who covered her face with a handkerchief and wiped her tears, while holding my mother's hand and apologizing, "It's all my failing as a mother. This root of trouble dares to say he wants to call off the engagement today, and we had no idea. When the Marquis asks for an explanation, we will certainly give the Duke's household an answer." Shen Huai's expression did not change. "Father, I truly cannot betray her. Besides me, she cannot marry anyone else. Please, father and mother, grant us this." Ping Anho whipped Shenhuai on the back with the riding crop he always carried. After several strikes, blood soon seeped from Shenhuai's back. A frail figure rushed out from the rear courtyard and collapsed into Shenhuai's arms. "You're so foolish. If anything happened to you, what would you do to Wn Niang?" Shenhuai, "Wn Niang, why did you come out? I told you I would break the engagement and marry you. I will not fail you. Huai, even if Wana dies today, it will have been worth it." Two unfortunate lovebirds clung tightly to each other, resisting the whole world. The beloved of Shenhuai turns out to be my concubine sister. Everyone was stunned. Mother stood up, pointing at her. "Do you know that the young lord is your legitimate sister's future husband? How dare you? How could you dare?" Wn Niang cried uncontrollably. Shenhuai held her and looked at my mother. "Aunt, Wn Niang and I truly love each other. She's not like Chia, who is skilled in qin, chess, calligraphy, and painting and flawless in every ritual, like a perfect artificial lady. But what I want is someone who understands me, who cares for me, not a cold, aristocratic miss. All of that, Wn Niang can give me. In my heart, I've long regarded Wn Niang as my wife, since the two families are to be joined anyway. Replacing the elder sister with the younger sister is not impossible." The Marchioness of Ping'an slapped him across the face. "Ungrateful son, how can you say such things? And you, a scion of a noble family, what do you make of Chia's reputation and virtue?" "Mother, someone drag the second miss away and lock her in the ancestral hall. I will not consent to this marriage." Shenhuai grabbed Wn Niang. "Aunt, WN Niang already carries my child, I must marry her. Clang, the first-rank orchid I was holding fell to the ground, and everyone's eyes turned to look. This pot of first-rank orchid was a gift I received when I came of age. It had finally formed buds, yet it shattered all over the floor, just like Mai and his marriage, completely broken. Shenhuai looked ashamed. Chia, younger sister. But then he suddenly straightened up. Chia, younger sister, although we were betrothed since childhood, I feel only sibling affection for you. Now that marriage is about to proceed, I cannot let it continue. Sister, please agree to break off this engagement. The one I love is not you, it is WN Niang. I looked up and saw the pity in my father's and mother's eyes, the guilt in the Marquis and his wife's eyes. My long white fox fur cloak trailed on the ground like a blooming white plum. I stepped forward toward him until I stood before the two kneeling people. Brother Huai, you don't love Chia. Chia has nothing to say, but why wait until the betrothal day to speak? Doing this, what face do you leave the Duke's residence? Do you think marrying off children is a joke? Do you know what this affects? You say a proper young lady is dull and then break the engagement. Do you know how hard life will be for the woman who is rejected? You know, yet you did this selfishly. You knew this could have been handled better, but you chose the most direct, simplest way, with the marriage imminent at this point, with one young already with child, by forcing the parents of both families to agree. You completed this match, but like this, Shen Huai felt some guilt, but it was only a flash. He tilted his head to look at me. Sister Chia, you are the legitimate daughter of the Duke's household. Even if the engagement is broken, you will have a bright future. Wan Yang is different, she's an illegitimate daughter. If I reject her, she will have no way to live. WN Niang knelt on the ground, clutching the hem of my cloak. Sister, I'm sorry, it's all WN Niang's fault. Do whatever you wish, beat me, kill me, just aim it at WN Niang. I know my place. The young Marquis is far above me, but when I saw him, it was like seeing a god. He was so kind, I couldn't help falling for him. I wasn't in control of myself. Sister, I beg you. I tore the cloak from her grasp, stepped back, took the marriage certificate from my pouch, ripped it to pieces, and threw it in front of Shen Huai. A man like you does not deserve me. From now on, marriage between a man and a woman concerns us not at all. Shen Huai was punched by his father and spat blood, and then the Ping'an Marquis made him kneel in our courtyard. He could rise whenever I forgave him. After the Ping'an Marquis and his household left, Shen Huai remained kneeling in the yard. WN Niang cried as if she were dying and insisted on kneeling with him. No one knows the affairs of the backyard better than the inner household women. If WN Niang wanted to make this happen, it was impossible without helpers, and in the Duke's mansion there was only one person who would help her, concubine Yu, WN Niang's birth mother. After father left the Ping'an Marquis's residence, he turned and went with mother to concubine Yu's room. Concubine Yu seemed to have expected their visit and remained very composed, smiling as she said, "Husband, ask whatever you want. I acknowledge it all, but what wrong have I done? I only did what a mother should do. As a mother I must plan far ahead for my child. Besides me, who would consider WN Niang's interests?" Mother flew into a rage. From childhood until now I've never deprived WN Niang of food, clothing, or expenses. How could you teach her to sabotage Chia's marriage? Concubine Yu laughed. Madam, apart from a birth mother, who would sincerely put her child first, you arranged for the eldest miss to marry a young marquis. But for WN Niang you chose the son of a lowly 6th or 7th grade official. Do you see no difference? Father smashed the teacup. WN Niang is a concubine's daughter. She hopes to marry into a prominent family who would look at her. Concubine Yu smoothed her temple hair. No need to worry now, young Marquis has taken a liking to her. Concubine Yu dared to be so bold only because she relied on the father's habitual favor. Thinking the matter could be brushed off lightly, mother stood up. As a mother, one plans far for her son. Fine, fine. A duke's household losing an illegitimate daughter isn't a grave matter. Our duke's household can still hold its head high. Others will even praise our strict family morals. I can send a bowl of poison to the ancestral hall right now. Aunt Yu sprang up with a sharp cry. WN Niang is the Marquis's daughter, how dare you? Mother, I was brought in with the Marquis's 8-pole sedan chair, I dare, you tell me, does the Marquis dare to say I do not? Saying that, she turned and walked away. From behind came Aunt Hugh's frantic sobbing and my father's angry rebukes. My marriage concerned the honor shared by two great families. A marriage between such houses was not a simple matter. How could Aunt Hugh understand? She only knew how to see if the groom had money and a high position. That night, concubine Yu was sent to the manor overnight. She didn't even have a maid to attend her, only a woman servant to do the heavy work. I went to the ancestral hall to see WN Niang. She looked up at me. Sister, what about the young Marquis? Is he still kneeling? Can you forgive him? If you want to blame someone, blame me. He committed a grave mistake. If I don't forgive him, he must keep kneeling. WN Niang, sister, he doesn't love you, it's not his fault. Why torment yourself for someone who doesn't love you? You are the legitimate daughter of the Duke's house. There are plenty of men you could marry. Why compete with me, sister? Will you give Huai to me? Paya, Pa, she spat. Second miss really has a lot of nerve, she can say something so shameless. WN Niang straightened up and smoothed down the hair that had fallen. But now I have the blood of the Pingan Marquis's house. Even if they dislike my background, they'll have to marry me in, won't they? I lowered my eyes and looked at her. The Pingan Marquis's wife says it's impossible for you to be the principal wife. You can only be a concubine. But the daughter of a duke's household cannot become someone else's concubine, so you only have two options. One is to take an abortifacient to terminate the pregnancy. Afterwards your parents will arrange a good marriage for you. You would still be the daughter of a duke's household. WN Niang clutched her belly. Impossible. How dare you suggest that? This is the little Marquis's flesh and blood. He won't let you get away with this. Me, second option. If you insist on marrying into the Pingan Marquis household as a concubine, you may request to be struck from the family register and removed from the genealogy. From now on, the Duke's household will no longer have a daughter named Li Wanna. WN Niang, why can't I marry the young Marquis as his principal wife? Why is my status not good enough? We are both our father's daughters. Why can you do it but I cannot? Me, because that's how the world is. You are an illegitimate daughter, so growing up you could neglect to seriously learn the qin, painting, or calligraphy. You could play and not properly learn etiquette. You only needed to be happy and enjoy yourself. And I, from the time I became sensible, had to learn things the moment I opened my eyes each day and only stopped when I went to sleep. My manners and behavior had to embody the bearing of a proper young lady. The hardships I endured you never saw. All you saw were my pretty clothes and expensive jewelry. You, however, do not see the hardships I endured while studying, the duty of an arranged marriage for the family's sake. All you see are love affairs. These, in the face of the family's honor and glory, mean nothing. Mother hated WN Niang with venom and gave father two choices. 1. To remove WN Niang's name from the family register. 2. A bowl of miscarriage medicine. Father went to the ancestral hall. When he came out his face was ashen. A servant who watched the hall quietly told Paya that WN Niang was determined to marry the young Marquis even at the cost of her life. In the end, father truly gave up hope. The next day, the Duke's residence held rites at the ancestral hall, and Li Wanna's name was completely struck from the Li family genealogy. At night, an unassuming little pink sedan chair was carried out from the side gate of the Duke's mansion and brought into the Pingan Marquis's residence. The news of my broken engagement still spread through the capital. The young Marquis, whom all the capital's noble daughters had been clamoring to wed, had chosen my younger half-sister and broken off my betrothal. Behind closed doors everyone gossiped eagerly, wondering why Li Chia, the legitimate daughter of the famed Duke's household, always poised and graceful, well-versed in letters and manners, praised even by the palace's training nanny for her deportment, had been jilted. But the next day it was reported that WN Niang had been struck from the clan register of the Duke's household, and the Pingan Marquis's residence had taken on a concubine. On the third day after WN Niang was carried out to marry into the Pingan Marquis's residence, she actually returned with Shen Huai to make the customary post-wedding visit. When they got down from the carriage. They were stopped outside the Duke's gate. A servant said politely, "Young Marquis, the Duke and his wife have instructed that there is only the eldest miss in the residence, and no other daughters. Where did this talk of a return visit come from? Besides, today the Duke and his wife are not home, so no one can receive you too." Niang said haughtily, "Open your dog eyes and see. I am the second miss of the residence. I married 3 days ago and now I return to pay respects. How dare you stop me? Wait until my father returns, you'll see, and you'd better get out of the way." The servant kept his head down. "Madam, young Marquis, I'm only a servant following orders. I don't dare to obey a command to get out of the way." Shen Huai saw Niang being put to trouble and felt terribly pained. He said, "Is your miss at home? I would like to see her." The servant replied with a smiling face, "Oh, sorry, the elder lady is not at home. Our miss does not receive strange men." Niang, "That's my sister. Why can't I see her?" She shoved him aside and tried to barge in. I stepped out from inside. "Stop right there, me. What is this place? Who are you to dare to intrude into the residence of the Duke?" Niang saw me come out and hurried over. "Sister, the young Marquis and I returned to my father's house today. I glanced at the two of them. Li Wanna, when you were dismissed you said you would have no further ties with the Duke's household. Perhaps you forgot, so I'll remind you again, you are not part of the Duke's house. Next time you want to visit, send a visiting card first. You don't understand etiquette." Does the young Marquis not understand it either? Niang, "Sister, why make things hard for me? I only want to see father." "Sister, are you angry because I took the young Marquis?" "Sister, if you are still angry, beat me, scold me. I won't fight back. Can't you let me see father?" Niang sank to her knees. After saying that, she dropped to her knees in front of the mansion gate, tears in her eyes. "I beg you, sister, forgive Niang. Let Niang see father and second madam." People outside the mansion stopped to watch the commotion. Shen Huai grabbed Niang to steady her, looking at me with displeasure. "I was the one who liked Niang. I was the first to court her, and I was the one who broke our engagement. The fault is mine. If you have grievances, take them out on me. Why make things hard for a frail woman like Niang?" The nanny stepped forward from the side, sheltering me behind her. "Young Marquis, was it that your kneeling at the time wasn't long enough for you to remember your wrongdoing, or was it this madam who forgot her own station?" Niang, crying, bowed low to the ground. "Nanny, you are my sister's wet nurse. Please say a word for me. Let me enter the residence to see father and fulfill my filial duty as a daughter." "Wet nurse, if you have even an ounce of filial piety left, you wouldn't kneel in front of the Duke's residence and disgrace the household." "Young Marquis, you've pushed this so far. Do you intend to trample the Duke's family's reputation into the dirt?" This was truly a grand spectacle, but I didn't want to keep performing for them. Turning my face, I instructed the gatekeeper, "Send for the wife of the Marquis of Peace. Ask her why her son, accompanied by a concubine, brazenly came to the Duke's residence to insult my household. Is she trying to make the two families enemies?" After speaking, I ordered the servants, "Close the gate. If anyone breaks in, report them to the authorities for vagrants trespassing on private property and throw them out. If anything happens, I'll explain it to the officials myself." Before the main gate shut, I said quietly, "If you want your aunt to stay alive, don't mention that you belong to the Duke's household again, or else." Lady Pingan heard about this and was furious to the point of madness. The Pingan Marquisate was becoming a laughingstock of the capital. She harshly punished Niang by making her kneel in the Buddhist hall for a whole day and copy a month's worth of sutras, saying it would calm her and also accumulate merit for the child in her womb. I thought Niang would have learned her lesson and obediently sit as a concubine in the Pingan Marquisate, but I had underestimated her. Paya came back from outside, fuming, saying that nowadays at the tea houses out on the streets there are storytellers everywhere telling the tale of the young Marquis and me. Though they didn't name names, anyone who knows would hear and immediately know they were talking about me in the storyteller's tale. I am that scheming, cruel legitimate daughter of the noble family who mistreats her half-sister, feigns affection for the young Marquis' fiancé, while in truth has long been exchanging glances and flirtations with countless other men, the half-sister is kind and beautiful. She and the young Marquis fall in love at first sight, overcome countless obstacles, their love stronger than steel, and finally unmask the legitimate daughter's vicious facade. The young Marquis breaks off the engagement and marries the half-sister, who has a pitiable background but is utterly devoted to him. The story is so brilliantly told and moving that the ladies and madams who go to the tea-house to listen stream in endlessly. Some listen more than once because they can't get enough. Once people make a little inquiry and match details to faces, they know who the protagonists in the book are. Everyone begins to pity Wn Niang, and the young Marquis, Paya, heard it once, was furious enough to die, and came back crying to tell me. I had someone secretly investigate. I knew Wn Niang hated me, but I didn't expect Shen Huai would be helping her. Father was so angry he took up his sword to go cut down Shen Huai. I stopped him. In matters like this, if they don't name anyone, how can you rush forward and confess? Mother nodded. An eye for an eye is the only way. Chia, what do you want to do? Of course this grudge must be avenged to be a true person. And I, as a young woman, hold grudges all the more. I took out 1,000 taels in silver, hired an opera troupe, had them write a play overnight and rehearse. And the next day the capital's largest Lichuan courtyard premiered the new play Fallen Beauty. The play told the story of a concubine-born daughter of a prestigious family who envied her legitimate sister's beauty and superiority in every way. She plotted to seduce her sister's betrothed, with sultry looks and flirtations that bewitched him, causing her to become secretly pregnant. He broke off the engagement, abandoning filial ties and honor to stay with the concubine-born daughter, but because of her various tantrums and misdeeds the child was lost. After marrying him, she lived a life of constant quarrels and turmoil, reaping the consequences of her own actions. Every time Lichuan courtyard staged a new play, it was packed to the rafters, and this time was no exception. This new play struck at the sore spots of every legitimate wife in the audience. Some were reminded of past hurts, some felt they were living it themselves, and each grit their teeth, hating the concubine-born daughter with a deadly hatred. The play ran for several days, and in the capital, those ladies and misses who hadn't seen it had nothing to talk about with others. Shen Huai came by at that moment. He stood in the courtyard, looking at me with an angry face. Chia, I didn't expect you to be this sort of person, to hire someone to stage such a play. Are you trying to kill Wn Niang? I asked him back. When you and Wn Niang had the storyteller perform, did you ever think about my situation, ever care about my life or death? Shen Huai, Wn Niang is childish by nature, she doesn't understand things, she was only joking. But you are a daughter of a respectable family, always sensible, generous, and poised. Why are you so petty? You know, Wn Niang is pregnant. When she found out, she cried at home for a whole day and disturbed her pregnancy. Go apologize to her and this matter will be dropped. I looked at him as if he were an idiot. What kind of words were those? When they tricked me, I was called childish and temperamental. When I fought back, I was accused of being immature. And now I'm supposed to apologize. I hadn't had a chance to speak when my father rushed over. Hearing that, he flew into a rage. Young Marquis, our Duke's residence cannot receive a guest of your rank. There's no need to visit us again. Please leave. He ordered them to throw Shen Huai out. Shen Huai was disgracefully driven out the gate and shouted at the entrance, how can the Duke be so biased? Wn Niang is now suffering from a threatened miscarriage. Does the Duke not care at all about his own daughter? No sooner had he finished speaking than a basin of foot-washing water was thrown out, splashing right over him. Paya hurled the basin down. Who's making such a racket out here? Are the gatekeepers dead? Hurry up and chase away the stray dog outside. The young mistress has been having a terrible headache lately and needs to rest this afternoon. The gatehouse servants all replied in unison, yes. They then took up brooms and began sweeping away the rubbish, dust, and foot-washing water from in front of the gate. The story of the young Lord Pingan and his concubine had been sung throughout the capital for a month, reaching the point that everyone in the streets and alleys knew of it. Lady Pingan once again demonstrated her astonishing skill as the mistress of the household, She swiftly arranged a marriage for Shun Huari, the eldest daughter of the Grand General's residence, trained in martial arts from childhood, able to strike enemies from horseback and embroider flowers when dismounted. Shun Huari was unwilling, but Lady Pingan only said one sentence: "If you do not want this, then take your concubine and get out of my Pingan manor. The good name of the Pingan manor cannot be ruined by you." No matter how Wn Yang acted coquettishly and cried and feigned weakness in the backyard, the marriage between the Grand General's household and the Pingan manor was quickly settled, and the wedding was set to take place in 2 months. To secure his favor, Wn Yang took some medicine on the night Shun Huai was to be married. Later that evening she had severe abdominal pain and sent someone to the bridal chamber to ask Shun Huai to come see her. "Young Marquis, something's wrong. Aunt Wn is rolling on the bed in pain. Please go and see her." The little maid wiped her tears in panic. Wn Yang thought that since Shun Huai valued her so much, and because she was pregnant, it would be easy to summon the groom and embarrass the bride, but the general's household was not to be trifled with. The bride's personal maid stood guard at the courtyard gate and told the servants, "Tonight is the young Marquis's wedding night. Who's so uncouth as to make a disturbance, cover their mouths, drag them out, and give them 10 lashes as a lesson." Wn Yang's maid had her mouth covered and was dragged away, unable even to cry out for help. By the time they managed to fetch a doctor, the child in Wn Yang's womb had fallen out, a fully formed male fetus. When Shun Huai arrived, Wn Yang flung herself into his arms, crying pitifully, "Huai, our child is gone. Why didn't you come? My belly hurt so badly. How could you be so heartless?" The young Marquis's wife stood to the side and admonished, "Everyone who serves the concubine, drag them out and give them 50 lashes. The concubine had abdominal pain and you didn't fetch a doctor, but went to find the young Marquis. Is he a doctor? Such an important matter was delayed by you. This concerns our heir. What punishment do you deserve? Why would the concubine have a stomachache? How could the doctor say that? Could someone have harmed her? It must be thoroughly investigated." Young madam, who was decisive, after a few slaps, the servants confessed that Wn Yang herself had added abortifacient herbs to the confinement medicines. She thought that adding just a little would be harmless, but unexpectedly it caused the formed fetus to be expelled. Shun Huai no longer spoke for her. "Why did you do that?" Young madam, who covered her nose with a handkerchief, "Is that even a question? To compete for favor, she wanted to lure young Hu away on his wedding night to show she's in a different position. Much loved, to teach me a lesson. These ploys are all in the storybooks. I've seen enough of them." Shun Huai looked at Wn Yang in disbelief. "Since when did you become so scheming, so cruel? That child in your belly was my own. You killed him." Wn Yang cried as if dying, but because of her actions and having lost the child to rely on, she soon fell out of favor in the back courtyard. Besides, Shun Huai had just become a bride. The new young mistress was still a novelty to him, and Wn Yang was even more completely abandoned. I had no intention of paying attention to their affairs any longer, for another winter had come. As the new year approached, heavy snow began to fall in the capital. The young ladies of the city were delighted. They could gather for snow-viewing banquets, compose poems, and drink, one of winter's great pleasures. But I heard that the shanty towns outside the city had many houses collapsed under the heavy snow, leaving many common people homeless. Staying in temples and abandoned derelict houses outside the city, I opened the box with my toiletries and counted. There were a little over 2,000 silver notes. I took them out and gave them to the steward, instructing him to open a soup kitchen in the name of the Duke's mansion to distribute porridge and aid people in the suburbs. I put on thick winter clothes, threw on a cloak, and went out to the suburbs myself. This news had not yet reached many people, so the Duke's mansion was the first to open a soup kitchen. Many people lined up to receive porridge, but they queued silently. Some elderly and children wore thin padded jackets that could hardly shield them from the wind and snow. I burst into tears, returned to the Duke's residence, and began sending notes to the noble young women I knew in the capital. I took out all my jewelry to sell for charity and told them that all the silver raised would be used to buy cotton clothes for those refugees. Although the noble women were usually fond of luxury, they were soft-hearted, and quickly donated several thousand taels of silver. I had people buy cotton-padded clothes and quilts and sent them to the outskirts of the city. Afterwards, prominent families gradually began opening porridge kitchens in the suburbs, and the situation slowly improved. The Ping'an Marquisate also opened a porridge kitchen, and it turned out to be Wn Niang running it. Shen Huai supported her, standing in front of the porridge kitchen, listening. To others praised the Ping'an Marquis for his kindness and saying he had married a beautiful lady. It seems she has regained favor and risen again in the Ping'an Marquisate. Even matters like distributing porridge are handled by her. Wn Niang lifted her head happily. The gold hairpin in her hair flashed as well. Shun Huai saw that I was also in the porridge tent and came over specifically to see me. Sister Chia. Then he murmured, Chia is dressed today as pretty as before, I replied. Politely but distantly, young Marquis, are you here to give out porridge too? Has Madam come as well? Charitable acts like distributing porridge are usually handled by the principal wife. After all, who wouldn't want that kind of reputation? My question landed on him like a slap to wake him up. Embarrassed, he said, Madam was diagnosed as being with child, so she handed this matter over to Wn Niang to manage. I see, I said. Congratulations to the little Marquis on becoming a father. Wn Niang came up from behind. What are you and my husband talking about? Me, I don't deserve to be called this Madam's sister. I'm here to congratulate Marquis who on becoming a father. The State Duke's residence will surely send a generous gift when the time comes. Oh my, the Marquis should have become a dad long ago. If not for, oh, did I say something wrong? I looked at them with a face full of guilt. Wn Niang's face flushed with anger. It's still better than our eldest miss having no suitors coming to propose right now. I smiled faintly. Better to have one celestial peach than a basket of rotten apricots. To be a concubine, can that be called marriage? Ha! My sarcastic tone drove the two of them away, but soon, the next day the porridge kitchen of the Ping'an Marquis residence had an incident. Refugees who had received thin porridge at the Ping'an Marquis residence developed diarrhea and vomiting. A physician from Jishengtang examined them and said they had eaten something unclean. Dozens of refugees developed intestinal distress. The authorities feared dysentery and decided to investigate thoroughly. The investigation found that the Ping'an Marquis concubine Wn Niang, out of greed for the money saved from buying rice for the residence's porridge kitchen, had ordered her maid to mix sour, spoiled rice into the porridge. The refugees, already weak from days of hunger, ate the contaminated food and began vomiting and suffering severe diarrhea. When this was uncovered, the emperor was furious. At a grand court assembly he berated the Ping'an Marquis for seeking fame and flattering his reputation while skimping on funds, causing the refugees to complain bitterly. But the emperor greatly praised me for being the first to start distributing porridge and buying winter clothes to help the refugees, commending that my parents had raised me well. The next day, the empress's reward arrived. Because I had donated my jewelry to sell, the empress bestowed many inner palace-made pieces upon me, exquisitely matchless. The emperor also granted me the title of Anning Princess. Such rewards made the rumors that had once surrounded me vanish without a trace, and suitors once again trod upon the steps of the duke's household. Because the emperor granted me the title of princess, by custom I must wear the princess's attire when I go to the palace to give thanks. My mother and grandmother helped me dress. I was about to go into the palace with my father and mother to pay my respects. Paya came and quietly told me that the young Marquis had arrived and was kneeling in the front courtyard, wanting to see me. I thought for a moment and went to meet him. He looked the same as when he broke off the engagement last year, still kneeling in that spot. But his expression was now full of deep feeling. Sister Chia, I only now realize how absurdly wrong I was, what it truly means to be a proper young lady, literate and well-mannered. Sister, I was wrong. Ever since marrying them, every day the back courtyards are full of quarrels and scheming. The Marquis Ping household has become a mess. I don't even want to go home anymore. Chia, I want to divorce my wife. I will petition the emperor to grant me a marriage. In this life, I only want to spend it with Chia. I laughed. Young Marquis, you must be joking. He tilted his head back, kneeling with even more sincerity. I'm serious. Me, why would the young Marquis think that someone like you would catch my eye. Last year when you broke off the engagement, it was I who said you weren't worthy of me. Now I am the commandery princess, and you cannot hope to reach that high. Young Marquis, you'd better go back and live peacefully with your wife and concubines. I turned. The outer robe of the commandery princess's ceremonial dress sweeping long across the snow beside him, so red and dazzling it stung his eyes. I ordered the servant, clean up the courtyard, don't block my way to the palace to receive the bestowal. The snow fell heavily, but I liked it very much because my future was like this world covered by snow, clean and bright. The first time I saw Yang was in the small garden of the Duke's mansion. When she saw me, she looked like a frightened fawn. Later she tilted her head to look at me and, bashfully, said, "I know you. You are my brother-in-law." Then she laughed sweetly and clearly, with 2 dimples on her face. "My name is Yang. I am the second miss of the Duke's household, but I am different from my sister. I am a concubine's daughter." There was a tremor in her voice. I had never seen such a lively woman. The genteel young ladies I had met before were all like Chia, smiling without showing their teeth, composed in every movement, capable of exquisite tea ceremonies, of painting breathtaking pictures, of playing the zither beautifully, but they were all cut from the same mold, tedious and uninteresting. I began to like going to the Duke's residence. After meeting younger sister Chia, I liked to play by the lake in her family's rear garden, and I could always run into Yang there. She liked to laugh, liked to chase butterflies, liked it when I told her about things outside. She would always say, "Brother Huai, I really want to go out and see the world." I brought her all sorts of little trinkets. Every one of them could make her smile. When she accidentally let a kite fall into my arms, my heart fell onto her along with it. I held her, kissed her, and told her I would take responsibility. I would certainly break the engagement with Chia and marry her. She trembled in my arms, saying her father would surely beat her to death, but for my reputation she begged me not to tell. She was willing to keep this secret alone and bear the suffering by herself. My heart was shattered. Such an obedient woman, I had to protect her. On the day of betrothal between the Prince of Ping'an's residence and the Duke's household, I made my decision and asked to annul the engagement. This was the result of my discussion with Yang. Yang said that by that day, the wedding date was set, and for the sake of face, the Duke's household could only marry off one daughter. Swapping the elder for the younger would be the same. I endured my father's whipping and the Duke's fury, kneeling at the Duke's residence for a full day and night. I do not regret it. I must marry Yang. I watched Chia's sister smash the top-grade orchid in front of her. I know I wronged her, but she was really too dull. I don't want my life to continue living out such dullness. The point is, Yang is carrying my child. When she told me that night, we imagined together how happy we would be after marrying and having our own child. Chia tore up the marriage contract and agreed to break off the engagement. I knew she had always been proud, she would never look back. But mother would not allow Yang to be the principal wife, only a concubine, and the Duke's household cruelly erased Yang from the family genealogy, leaving her homeless. Everything turned out different from what we had imagined. Yang grew suspicious and jealous. She hired a storyteller to write a tale and have it told in the tea house, and in the story she pinned all the blame on Chia. By the time I learned of it, everyone in the streets and alleys already knew. I had no choice but to call in favors to cover it up for her. In the end, her scheme backfired. Chia turned our affair into a play and staged it at Lichuan House. The Ping'an Marquis family's reputation was ruined. My mother hurriedly arranged a marriage for me, and if I refused she said I should leave the residence. I could only placate Yang, telling her that even if I married, I would love only her. Only after the wedding night did I learn that Yang had aborted the child in her belly to vie for favor. Yang became unlike before, scheming, jealous, and willing to use any means to achieve her ends, even when running a soup kitchen as charity. She withheld silver and put sour, spoiled food into the pots, causing refugees who ate it to vomit and have diarrhea. The emperor rebuked my father, and we nearly lost the entire marquisate. Yang and the madam quarreled endlessly in the backyard. During the argument the madam's pregnancy was affected, the baby couldn't be saved, And my mother was so furious she fainted. I regret my past mistakes. I knelt before my sister Chia and begged her forgiveness. Chia, bright and beautiful, dressed in the county princess's attire, looked at me and said, "Young Marquis, it's too late. You are not worthy of me." Yes, I am not worthy of her. She now has a better future. She has always been confident. It was I who was blind and foolish. From now on, I will never be worthy of her.